Good day, all learners. Welcome to today's talk of the investing. I'm Mr. Samuel Innocent Uyanda Ngunyeni, a grade 12 tourism educator at one of the schools, Medway in South District, and a head of department. Right. This lesson is brought to you by Sibona Discovery Center in collaboration with Gauteng Department of Education. Right. You have written your prelims, and I'd like to say that the road is not ended. It is just the beginning. The beginning to what? The beginning to your final examinations, right? I hope the lessons that you've been doing from the beginning of the year have also assisted you in obtaining a very good mark or grade from your prelim exams. Remember, prelim means what? Pre means what? Before. Before what? Before final examinations. Right. You are going to be writing tourism on the 24th of November from 2 o'clock in the afternoon, meaning 1400, up until 17 hours in the afternoon. Our paper will still be 3 hours, and the structure is more or less the same like what we had in the previous. Right. My sources are from Via Africa Tourism Textbook, grade 12 learners book, Focus Grade 12 Tourism Learners book, and also Oxford Successful Tourism Grade 12 Learners book. And most of my activities are from the DBE, Department of Basic Education, past exam papers. So for today, we are going to be focusing on our section B of your papers, which is going to be question 2. The first question, whereby it is going to be all about what the world time zones. So I've titled my today's lesson as World Time Zones Revision, because this is more or less what we did and also what you did with your teacher there in your classroom. So I hope you have pen and paper there with you so that you can be able to jot down 1 or 2 things that I will be writing. So the main focus for today is going to be on world time zones. So write it up, world time zones revision number 1. Let's move. Right. The lesson focus objectives for today. You need to remember that today's topic, it is world time zones, right? It's part of your section B, right? Section B, whereby you're going to come across your question 2, right? Right, welcome back. We just had some small error. Right, as I said that the main focus for today, it is going to be on section B of papers. Section B, whereby I'm going to be looking at a certain portion of your section B. This is where you're going to come across question 2, whereby you're going to be looking at time zones, right? So the main focus for today will only be based on a few things on the time zones. You need to know the structure of your tourism paper and also the maximum marks that you need to get or that they might ask you about, right? So section B will be 50 marks, right? And time zones maybe on this 50 marks, maybe the maximum marks on the whole time zone concepts and also calculations. Maybe they could go to maybe 26, not more. So we need to be very careful there, right? What are you going to be focusing on today, Mr. Yeni? I'm going to be focusing on the time zone concept. What do you mean by concept? When you talk about concepts, we are talking about what terms or terminology, right? Time zone concepts or time zone what terminology. Most of the learners, when we do revision and visit their schools all the time, when you say, what is it that I must start with? They say time. What is it that I must start with? They say time zone. But they forget that we've got time zone concepts or terms back before we deal with calculations. What I'm trying to say is it might happen that you fail your calculations or you do not do good on your calculations, but you might get some of the marks or most of the marks from your time zone concepts, right? Or time zones terminology or terms. So you need to ensure that before you stress about the calculations, you first know what your time zone concepts. There's quite a number of concepts that we've dealt with even at school, but for today, I'm only going to be focusing on the following terms or time zone terminology. The first thing that you're going to be looking at, it is the concept of time zones. You go to school and then you do revision like, guys, what is the time zone? And then learners should not understand what is it. So you're going to try to break it down so that you can have more understanding. And remember what I said to you was that this is what revision, right? I said you're going to be doing what? World time zones revision number 1. Right. So these are the things that you have done already. The second thing that you're going to be looking at is the concept known as UTC, right? Also known as GMT, also known as Line of London, right? So you're going to look at UTC. What is it? Universal Time Coordinate. Concept number 3, right? These ones, they normally go hand in hand together. The reason why we're going to be doing that is because on your question 2, especially on the statements or the scenarios that the examiners will give to you, they normally say calculate standard time, or his or her standard time was what was the local time. So you need to understand the difference between those two concepts. Which concepts? The difference between standard time and local time. So we'll try to take that down. Then another concept that the examiners often ask us, it is what the international dateline or IDL, right? Avoid writing it like this. You need to know how to write it what in full, because learners confuse this with international driver's license. So be very careful here. So another concept that we have is international dateline or IDL. Another concept that we're going to be focusing on today, you saw on your papers, this was also there, and it was shocking that to this day learners do not know how to differentiate what between jet lag and jet fatigue. So another concept that we're going to be looking at deeply, it is what is jet lag and also what is jet fatigue, how to experience each, and what is it that you must do in order to minimize and also the symptoms. So we are also going to be looking at jet lag and jet what fatigue. Then another concept that we are going to be looking at again This was their own opinions, and learners often failed. DST, right, known as daylight saving time, right? DST, also known as daylight saving time or summer time. So I hope you are already writing these things down. So we also look at what is DST, when does it apply, and so on. And then we conclude by looking at the benefit of DST, particularly on the countries that are practicing DST, because it is not all countries that can practice DST. The benefit of DST, particularly focusing on tourism or tourism businesses, and also on how DST can help us to say what energy and so on. Then, if we still have enough time, then we will move to one of the most challenging topics that we have when it comes to time zones, where I'm going to be revising on how to do what time zone calculations. So I hope that you have pen and paper there with you or your phone ready, so that you can also be able to take many notes and also some screenshots. So the main focus for today, it is only going to be about what time zones, where I'll be looking at the concepts first, and then after the concepts, I'll try to look at the time zone calculations, right? What are we working for here? We are working for about at least 26 marks of your section B, because it is going to be out of 50, and I'm assuming that time zones will be more or less like from 24, 23, made up until 26. All right, let's move. Before we move to the time zones concept, we need to make sure that you are familiar with this particular map. What do we call this map? We call it a time zone map. On all your tourism papers, when you get to question 2, you're going to come across a map more or less like this one. Right? So we need now to come and interpret this particular map. So it was also shocking when I visit some schools, then I'm like, please borrow me your tourism workbook. Yes, you'd find out in some books the map is not even pasted. Then in some schools, you find the map, it is pasted on the learner's book, but it is what? It is blank. Because one of the instructions that you get on question 2, it is what? Study or read the following map. Meaning when you have to study, it means you must interpret what? The whole map, so that you can be able to know what is going on there. So this is the time zone map that you need to be familiar with, because this is the same, or if not more or less the same map that you're going to have on your paper. Right? So we are live and available on our WhatsApp line 063 3655 063 This is where you can be able to interact with us. Send us your WhatsApp messages, send us your questions, so that as I'm moving, I can be able to assist you there and then. Meaning now, when you go to write tourism, you need to ensure that you also have your tourism calculator, because for you to do time zone calculations, you will need to have what? The tourism calculator. So before I move to this time zone map, let me try first to move to what are time zones, particularly trying to explain what are time zones. So here's my question. People always say, yeah, Minear, time zones are difficult, but I'm like, what are time zones? And they need to not know that. Let me try to break them down for you. Remember, I said this is a revision, meaning I'm hoping that you have pen and paper there with you, and that you are also aiding from what you were given already there in class. So this cannot be something completely new, because we are doing what? Revision. What are time zones missing? I am saying let's look first at these two concepts. The first thing that we have there, two ways. You've got time, and then you've got what? Zones. In our class, in our location, you've got zones, or sometimes what? Extensions. So these are the divisions. The zones are the divisions. So yes, you know what this is. So what are time zones? They are the divisions of the earth into 24 zones. So time zones are the divisions of the Earth into 24 zones. We've got 12 zones to the east, and then you've got 12 zones to the west. Well, when you add all of them, they make up what? A day is made up of how many hours? It is made up of what? 24 hours. So same thing with the time zone. They are the divisions of the Earth into 24 zones. Right? 12 zones to the east and also 12 zones to the west. And I am saying that each zone represents what? 1 hour. Meaning the difference between one time zone and the next is what? It is 1 hour. And the second thing that I'm saying is that each time zone represents what? 15 degrees. Meaning the difference between one time zone and the next time zone is what? 15 degrees. Right. I tried here to make a screenshot of this. Let me just go back on our time zone map. Right. This is the time zone map that you're going to get. Let's check. You see this portion here. This portion here on top. On your tourism map. So you're supposed to label your map. Then what are all these numbers? These are our time zones. These are our time zones. So you can see the first one there, you've got +1, +2, +3, +4, +5, +6, +7, +8, +9, and +10. When you check there at 180 degrees, this is where actually we have your +12. Then you go to the left, or to the east, to the west again. We have -1 or -1 this side, -1, -2, -3, -4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then here you'll have -12, if not -12. What do we call that? We call it what? Our time zones. Now, when you go inside your map again, there are numbers indicated there in each and every country, if not city. Then those numbers there, +1, +7, -5, -3, and so on, inside your time zone map, we call them what? We call them what? Time zones. Right. Let's move. So I said to you, they are the divisions of the Earth into 24 zones. 12 zones to the east and 12 zones to the west. And each zone represents what? 1 hour and 15 degrees apart. So I tried to screenshot this particular map. Let's check on this one so that we can try to interpret it. And then we got here, as you can see, this is 0. I'm going to explain it further what we mean by this 0 line. Then here we got +1, +2, +3, +4, +5, +6, +7, +8, +9, +10, +11. Then here we got +12. Those are our time zones. And then on the left or on the west as well, we've got -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8, -9, -10, -11, and then here obviously at 180 degrees we have -2. So these are our time zones, right? 12 + 12, then it is what? 24. We are busy trying to interpret the map. Then I said to you, each time zone represents what? Meaning the difference between +2 and +1, it is what? 1. The difference between -2 and -1, it is what? 1 hour. Now, when you zoom into this map, let me just go back this side, you will see that on top, we've got the time zones here, but here underneath here again, we've got some digits or numbers. So the following picture, it is from, so here we've got 0 degrees, then here we've got 30, then we've got 60, 90, 120, 150, up until 180, and then we've got the degrees there. So remember I said to you, each zone represents what? 15 degrees. Let's go there on +1 and try to fill in this time zone map. When you get to +1, you see on 0 you've got 0 degrees. Then next to +1 here, you will have what? 15 degrees. Then on +2, you are given already what? The degrees. On +3, there's nothing. Then you add what? 30 plus 15, it is what? 45 degrees. Then on +4, you've got 60. And then +5, there's nothing. Then you say 60 plus 15. Then here you've got what? 70. You've got, okay, here, 60 plus 15. Then what are you going to have here? 75 degrees. And then 75 plus 15, then on +6, you'll have what? 90 degrees. And on +7, there's nothing. Then here you'll have 105 degrees. On 120, on +8, you are given 120 degrees. Then you go to +9, then you'll have 135. Then on +10, you've got 150 degrees. And then on +11, then you'll have 165. 65. Yes. And then 180. So everything, the same thing that you did to your east or to the right, you do the same. Again, here it's minus, but here you leave what? 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, and so on and so on. So hence we are saying each time zone represents 1 hour and also 15 degrees. For example, let's go back to that map. So here we've got +2. South Africa is on +2, remember. Then which degrees? It is what? 30 degrees. So that's what I'm trying to say there. That each time zone represents 1 hour and also 15 what? Degrees. Right. Then the second thing that you need to look at or to remind yourself is the following. Here we've got the 0 line. You see it? We've got the 0 line there. This 0 line, what is it called, Mr. Yeah, it is known as Universal Time Coordinate, or UTC, or Greenwich Meridian, or the line of London. There's how many names? There's 3. Which line am I talking about here? I'm talking about this 0 line here on your map. Let's label it UTC. What does UTC stand for? Universal Time Coordinate. Remember, universal means what? So what does universal time coordinate mean? This is where all countries calculate what time. Meaning we start calculating time from which line? From 0 degrees UTC. Right? Or line of London, or line of Greenwich Meridian. Right? This is what we're talking about. Then to move, I also need to assist you. Then all the countries on the right or on the east. So here, meaning we've got 0, then +1 up until +12. Then what do you call the countries here? We call it what? East. Right? And then the one on the left of 0 degrees on minus and so on, we call them what? West. Are you getting it? So where is South Africa? Let's go to the map and try to find South Africa on the map. So South Africa is there next to Johannesburg, right? This is where South Africa is on the map. So on which time zone is South Africa? We are on +2 or +2 and 30 degrees. But you cannot just say 30 degrees. You need to know. I said to you, the countries on the right, they are the countries on the right. Remember, I said they are on the east. So where's South Africa? South Africa, therefore, I said it's on +2 when you interpret the map. Therefore, it's on +2 and 30 degrees. But which degrees? 30 degrees what? East. Because we are on the right of 0 line of UTC. Right. Let's go and check Mexico, for example, Mexico City. When you try to interpret your map, excuse me, where's Mexico City? There it is. It's on -6 or -6. And which degrees? and 90 degrees, but which one here is on 90 degrees west? Right. This is you now trying to interpret and find your time zones and also what your coordinates from your map. So what are time zones? They are divisions of the Earth into 24 zones, 12 zones to the east and 12 zones to the west. Each zone represents what? 1 hour. And each zone represents what? 15 degrees. For example, in South Africa, where are we? We are on +2 or +2 and 30 degrees east. Right. So all the countries on the left of UTC, they are on the west. Then now we have an understanding a bit of what is UTC. UTC stands for Universal Time Coordinate. This is where all countries do what? Calculate what time. The zero line of longitude, this is where all countries calculate time. It is also known as the line of London. Why are they calling it the line of London? Because if you can interpret your map, you will see it is on zero line, right? And then when you go down, there is London. And where is it? It's on 0. So far, we should understand what are time zones. How do we find it? Meaning we are interpreting our map. How do you find your time zones, and also how do you find what? You should have also been understanding what the difference on the map in terms of where is west and also where is what? Where is east. Right. Then I'm moving to the following concept, meaning are we ahead of time or we are behind of time? And how will you know when it comes to traveling that whatever country that you are traveling to, they are behind time or ahead of time? So that, because remember the time zones, they will help assist you to do what? To do your travel plan. Let's check. Ahead of time or behind of time? I said to you here, this is UTC. Then I said here we've got east. Then this side you've got what? West. This is you now even there at home trying to jot down as much information as you can on that particular map that we have. So all the countries to the east of UTC, they are ahead of time or later. So they are ahead or later, meaning all the countries on the east of Universal Time Coordinate. Then you've got countries on the west. So all the countries on the west, they are behind time or they are earlier. Okay, let's just fix here. And they are earlier. So meaning when you go to the west, you are going to be earlier. When you go to the east, you're going to be late. So when it comes to time zone calculations, you need to know that am I ahead or behind of time? Right. So remember here I said you've got what? Universal Time Coordinate or GMT or the line of London. There it is. Now you also need to go back to the inside of your map. When it comes to time zones calculations, when you get this map, you need to be aware that we've got some places are shaded gray and some are not shaded gray. And then when you try to interpret this map, you will see that it has our 7 what continents. Remember the 7 continents we dealt with when in grade 8 and 9 on social sciences, and also in tourism in grade 10. So this should not be shocking you too much, but you need to know where your countries are. So you are given the continent and also the capitals or the big cities in each continent. When you check your time zone map again, you will see that some places are shaded gray, right? And then the others are not shaded. So what does this mean? This will help you to actually check the calculation. So all the countries that are shaded, it will mean that on that particular position, they fall when under the same what? double check that whether you know it. And what are we giving there? We are giving what? The city. So some countries are shaded gray and some countries are not shaded gray. So that's how we can be able to differentiate between one time zone and the other. When you check here in South Africa and going up to the north, it means all those countries that are shaded gray, they fall under what? Under the same what? Under the same time zone. Know your continents as well. Let's go to Australia, for example. When you check here, either Australia or Australasia, some countries have more than one time zone. Some countries have more than one time zone. When you check in Australia, Sydney has its own time zone, Adelaide or Melbourne has its own time zone, and Perth also has what? Its own time zone. So when you check at Adelaide, it is written what? 9, meaning it is 9 hours and 30 minutes. Because remember, I said that each time zone represents what? 1 hour. When you go to Asia as well, you will see that we've got countries that fall under how many time zones? About 9, if not so. When you go and check again here in South America, you will see how many time zones we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. About what? 4 time zones. And all these are the people or the people who were in the same continent. When you go to North America as well, you can see that you get how many time zones? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 5. You should know that and be able to double check. When you check Africa as well, it also has many time zones, if I'm not mistaken, about 1, 2, 3. Remember, I'm saying Africa as a whole and not South Africa. And when you check South Africa, we fall under one time zone. So this is how you can be able to try to interpret your map. Another thing that you need to look at when you interpret time zone map is that we've got lines that are curving, right? This line. They are moving from north to south. Even here it is there. It is moving from north to south. Again, on your far right, again, we've got those lines from north to south. I'm trying to give you clues here when I say from north to south. Right. What are these lines? You'll remember from geography, social science, we also spoke about the lines of longitude and also the lines of latitude. Mr. Nkonyen, are you going to ask me to explain the difference between latitude and longitude? I do not think so. But when you read your statements, you need to remember that they keep on emphasizing what? Lines of latitude, lines of longitude. So when you study your map, you should be able to show us or know which ones are longitude and which ones are latitude. The ones of longitude, they run from north to south of the equator, of the continent. There it is, north this side, and south that side. And the ones of latitude, they run parallel to each other. There it is, 1, 2, 3, up until you go down. This is some of the interpretation on our time zone map. Let's move to another concept that is there on your map. Another concept that you need to be aware of when it comes to time zone calculations, our concept, it is what? The international date line. The international date line. Let me go to the map again. Excuse me. When you look at your map, the map that we're dealing with, right, you will see that we've got the line there at the far end here. This is the 180 degree. On your left, again, there it is. It is also what? The 180 degree. What do we call this line? This is the universal time coordinate, or what? This is the international date line. Excuse me. This is the international date line. Also, this side, we also have it as what? International date line. You see it? So, what is an international date line? That here. So, I try to get you the two pictures. International date line, there it is, the 180 degree line there, and then here you see it's capping a bit. Then it is something like this. And then on your left well, the same thing. Remember, it's on 180, meaning on 180 it is on minus 12. Then on the right it will be on plus 12, right? Here are the lines of longitude, here are the lines of latitude. So the international date line, it is here, IDL, right? As you can see, it has dot. Even this side, it has what? It has dot. That is what our international date line. Let's try to explain this concept, right? I'm going to give you 2 minutes so that you can be able to try to jot down this notes. Remember, I said to you, we are available on our WhatsApp line 063 629 3655, 063 629 3655, so that you can be able to send us your questions, and then we will be able to come back to you and have an interaction. I'm giving you 2 minutes so that you can be able to write down these notes. When I come back, we are going to continue with the international date line. I'll be back. Right, welcome back. You are still with me, Mr. Nkumeni. Then you are busy tackling down the revision for time zones, right? We are busy dealing with time zone concepts before the calculations, and we are also busy trying to do what? To interpret the time zone map. We said, where is the IDL or the international date line? It is the imaginary 180-degree line of longitude. There it is, the right, and also on the left. This line does what? Can you see? It has dots. So it is something like this. If I try to draw it, you see, then it goes down like this. Even this side is also there on the left. Then it does something like this on the globe, right? So let me check the explanation. I said the international date line, it is the 180-degree line that separates today from yesterday, or yesterday from the next day, something like that. So it is the 180-degree line that separates today from yesterday, and today, yesterday, and from tomorrow. Right. This is where all calendar dates change. Right. Today it is the 14th October 2022. Remember, they said that the Earth it is rotating. So once we get to the 180 degree, it means now we are going to be changing from the 14th to the 15th. Obviously, when you are going to the right. Then when you are going to the west, it means you are going where to the previous day when you do your calculations. Remember, why do you need to know about what the international deadline? This is for your travel plans when you are busy planning your trips. So the international deadline, known as IDL, it is the imaginary 180-degree line of longitude that separates today from yesterday. This is where all calendar days change, meaning when you get to 180 degree, if you are going to the right, meaning you'll get to the next day because you'll be ahead. When you go to the left or to the east and to the west, then it means that you are losing the day, meaning you are going to the previous day. It is also known as the zigzag line. What am I talking about here? When you check this map, this one, this big map, I said your international deadline is here, right? The date is going down. Also this side, date is going down. It's even written here on your map, international deadline and international deadline. So it is a zigzag line. That is why, because it is dot and this, it looks like sort of a Z. So where can you get this? In your multiple choice or when you read your scenarios. When you move to the east of the IDL, the date is 1 day earlier to the west. What am I talking about here? Let's go back to this. Remember, we said all the countries on the east, they are ahead. Meaning, if we are going this way, and then you get to IDL, it means then you are ahead. When you move, then you go to the side, then it means you are behind. Right. To the east of the IDL, the date is 1 day earlier than to the west. When you cross the IDL from the east, you go back a day. When you cross it from the west, you go forward a day. This is whereby now you're going to be doing your calculation. When you cross the IDL from the east, then you go back a day. And when you cross it from the west, then you go forward by a day. Date is the international dateline. Then another concept that I had to skip, let me just go back a bit. I've explained what do you mean by ahead or behind, meaning all the countries to the east or to the right, they are ahead, and all countries to the west, they are behind or early. Then the second concept that I want us to look at, it is this three concept whereby when we are talking about standard time and local time. Standard time and local time. Remember, I said that these are the concepts or terms that you need to know before you start stressing about what? About the calculations. So what is standard time? It is the time that is the same for all places in a particular country. Remember, I said to you that some countries, they've got more than one time zone, meaning they've got multiple time zone. And another difference, what we have there, we've got local time. So there is local time and also standard time. Standard time, it is the time that is the same for all places in that particular country. Basically, we are saying the time zones. For example, what is South Africa's standard time? Our standard time, it is where 1 plus 2. Meaning, this is where we all calculate what? Our time. Your cell phone number, remember, what they start with? They start with +27. So what does that mean? It means we are falling under which time zone? On +2, meaning someone from overseas, before they call us, they can't just say 073 blah 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 blah. They must first dial what? +27, and then the added number. Even you, when you are visiting or calling someone from another country, you must first dial what the time zone, then you add the number. What is South Africa Standard Time? We are on +2. Let's check Sydney. Sydney is somewhere there in Australia. Where is Sydney? There it is. Sydney is on +10 here. Then that is what the standard time. What is South Africa Standard Time? Where are we, all of us? When you check it and go up, go up, then you will see this is shaded gray, meaning you go down, then it means you fall under which time zone? You fall under M+2. Getting it? Let's go to the west. Let's check New York, for example. There is New York. Then what is the standard time of New York? It is -5 or -6. That's how we calculate what? Right. Sydney is on +10. New York is on -5. Then we've got local time. So what is local time? It is the specific time at any given place, meaning the time on your clock. When you check our time now, it says 14:48, meaning that is our local time. E.g., now it is 14:48, meaning 12 minutes before what? Before 3 o'clock. So that is our local what? Our local. That's what we're talking about here. You need to know the difference between what? Standard time and local time. Basically, because on your scenarios, when they give you calculations, they keep on emphasizing his standard time it is, his local time it is, calculate the local time, calculate the departure time, and so on. So when you do not know the difference between the two, it means that it is going to be difficult for you to do what? To do the calculations. Standard time, it is the time that is the same for all places in that particular country. For example, South Africa Standard Time, it is what? +2. Sydney, it is on +10. New York, it's on. Local time, it is the specific time at any given place. The time in your or on your. So you need to know the difference between what? Standard time and local time. We are still waiting for your questions on our WhatsApp line 063 629 3655 063 629 3655 for today's standard questions that are relevant to the time zone to what we are doing, so that we can be able to do what? To respond to you and assist you as you are planning for your examinations. Right. We are almost there. We are about to get to the activities, then the calculation. Then we have the 24-hour clock. Remember, I said to you that I'm not going to focus on all the concepts, but there are specific ones that I've chosen, and it is for a reason. When you look at your, let me just show you this. When you look at your time zone map, right, this map, when you look at your time zone map, the one that you're going to get also on your paper, we've got this clock here, world time zone clock. It is there for a specific reason, right? So I had to crop it out. Let's look at it. This is the 24-hour clock. We are saying when we calculate time zones, we use what? The 24-hour clock, right? The flight as well. The flight on your boarding pass, you will see the flights also use the 24-hour clock. Meaning the 24-hour clock will help you or to assist you to knowing what the exact times and so on, so that you cannot be confused. Because remember, when you're traveling via the aircraft and so on, it means that you're going to be crossing certain time zones and so on. So you need to know when you go to the east, remember you are ahead. When you go to the west, remember you are behind or alien and so on. So the 24-hour clock can be able to help you in your travel planning and so on. Let's try to go back a bit and revise it. Remember, I said to you, this clock, it is there on your papers on your question 2 on that time zone map, right? We have here 00 hours. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. So what does this mean? This is 12 at midnight. Right? This is 12 at midnight. When you check again here, we've got the arrows. This one doing this, doing this. Remember, you've got clockwise and anti, right? This is showing you so one. And you've got one here. Which one is this? Then from after midnight, then it will be 01 like this. And then 4 o'clock in the morning, then it will be 04 like this. Then at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then it will be what? 15 or 15 what? Hours. 9 o'clock in the evening, it will be 2100. 9 o'clock in the morning, then it will be here, then it will be 9 like this. So you need to know your 24-hour clock. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, then it will be what? 13 hours. There it is. So this is how we calculate what? The 24-hour clock. So we do not use AM and PM, right? So when you calculate time, we use this and this. So this is 12 o'clock when in the afternoon. So in the afternoon, why is it this 12? Then it is going to be like this. So it's very important that before we do the calculations, you also try to understand your time zones. Obviously, when you go there, this is clockwise, meaning you are ahead. Then when you go backward, it means you are behind, meaning you are going to the other day. So be very careful when you do your time zone calculations, because your 24-hour clock can be able to assist you in doing your calculation. And our times are written like this, not like this. So be very careful there when it comes to your 24-hour clock. So what time is this one? This is 12 midday. This is 1 o'clock after midnight. And then this is 2 o'clock when? In the afternoon. So the others, you will practice them and practice them and practice them. Right. Yo, these two, they confuse learners time and again. And they form part of what again? Of time zone concept. Remember, you just go back to the time zone. Right, this is them. When you are on a time zone, remember where is South Africa? Okay, let me go to this one. Okay, so it is too many. Yes. Where is South Africa, for example, when you check here, you will see that South Africa, we said we are on plus. Excuse me. Let us say you are going to Sydney. Here, and then you go to Sydney. Sydney, we said it's on plus 10. How many time zones are you crossing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on, before you get to your final destination. So this is where now you're going to be talking about those two concepts, jet lag and jet what? Fatigue. When you check this side, again, let us say you are moving from South Africa, and then you want to go to -3. In -3, you've got Brazil and so on. So when you move, how many time zones you are crossing? You are crossing multiple or many time zones. Even here, you are crossing multiple or many times. So this brings us into this concept that we have, the two concepts that we have, which is jet lag and jet fatigue. So what is jet? Jet, remember, comes from an aircraft, if not an aeroplane, or a jet, right? Lag, it is the trip, the number of jet lag. Ne? So what is jet lag? It is a physical condition When I say physical condition, it means it affects what? The body. And remember, this is not a disease, right? It is a physical condition that your body will experience because of crossing multiple or many what? Learners could not give us the information on jet lag and jet fatigue. So jet lag, it is a physical condition caused by crossing what? Multiple or many time zones. Then we've got jet fatigue. Fatigue, it is tiredness. It is a physical condition caused by spending many hours on the jet lag. Is caused by crossing multiple or many time zones, meaning your trip, it has many legs, meaning you are moving from one country to the next, or from one time zone to maybe 4, if not 3 what time zones. Then obviously, then your body will experience what? Jet lag, because now you are traveling to a different, if not new or another what? Time zone. Then that is what jet lag. Then you've got jet fatigue. I said it is a physical condition caused by spending what? Many hours on the flight. Let's go to the map, because sometimes they may give you these maps. When you look at this map that we spoke about, so how will you get jet lag? By crossing multiple or many times. But when you check from Johannesburg, for example, to Spain, here on +1, you are going to the north, meaning how many time zones are you crossing? Only one. You are moving from +2 to +1, meaning how many time zones are you crossing? Only one. But because of the distance, meaning the travel time as well, that you are going to spend on the flight from Johannesburg to Spain or London or whatever city, because of the long hours. Remember in grade 11 we spoke about different types of flights. We've got long haul flights, and we said those ones, they take long haul flights, and also short haul flights. So those are the things that will help you in terms of understanding the difference between jet fatigue and jet lag. Jet lag, it is caused when you cross multiple or many what? Time zones. Fatigue, it is caused by spending many hours where? On the flight, either seated and so on, before you are traveling to get to your final destination. It is impossible, and it is also shocking that we had learners who could not tell us the difference between jet lag and jet fatigue. So it can't be again. It can't be again. It is impossible for you to forget this, because I tried to explain well the difference between the two. Jet lag, it is a physical condition caused by crossing what? Multiple, if not many time zones. Fatigue, it is a physical condition caused by spending what? Many hours on the flight. Remember, you put the textbook there with you. You also have your notes, meaning you need to be adding from the notes that I have given you. You need to add or top up on top of them. That is the difference between what? Jet lag and jet what? And jet fatigue. Right. Then we have another concept known as daylight saving time. Daylight saving time. Then I'm getting there to the calculations. Let me double check. Yes. Then we've got not DSTV, daylight saving time. It was also there on the page, and the learners failed to tell us. It is a practice whereby countries adjust their clocks or move forward what their clocks adjust or move forward. Yes, because some learners will not remember. Daylight saving time, it is a practice whereby countries adjust their clocks by 1 hour, and again when? During summer months. Not all the time. So what do you mean when we say adjust? When we have your clock and I say move it, then it means you are adjusting it. DST, it is a practice whereby countries adjust their clocks by 1 hour during some months so that they can make use of the extra daylight. DST, it is also known as summertime. So you can either say DST or summertime. For example, in New York, it is on -5. Then if we are saying now New York is practicing DST, let's go to the map so that I know what I'm talking about. We said New York is on -5, right? Then we say New York, they are practicing what? DST. So meaning where will New York be? New York then will be on -4 and not a -6. Remember, we are ahead when you do what? When you move to the east or when you add what? So where will New York be? If we are staying in New York, they are practicing DST. When you have to do a calculation, you must first locate in New York, or it's on -5. Then where will it be now? It's going to be on -4 because we are 80. And when do we add? We add when you go to the right. So here's our 0, east and ahead. Then when you move to the right, you add time. When you move to the left, you subtract time. So hence I'm saying New York is on -5, but if we are saying they are practicing DST, it will be on -4 because when do we add time? Remember I said it is a practice whereby countries adjust. So what do? Adjust? You move forward. What? Their clocks by how many hours? By 1 hour during summer months so that they can make use of the extra daylight. So DST is also known as what? Summertime. When you check New York, it's on -5. But if we are saying that practicing DST, then where will New York be? Then New York will be on -4. Then when it comes to the countries on the when you come to the countries on the east already, where South Africa is on +2, let me use this. Remember West Sydney is on +10. Then when we say Sydney is practicing DST, it will not be on +10, but it will be on +11 because they are practicing what? DST. They add 1 hour to their clock. Right. Let's add this note first. Yes. So, for example, Moscow is on +4. And if we say they are practicing DST, remember, then Moscow will be on +5 because where do? We go to the right when we add what? DST, we add what? Time. It is a practice whereby countries adjust their clocks by 1 hour during the summer months so that they can make use of the extra daylight. Right? I'm going to give you 2 minutes again before we go to the activities so that you can be able to write these notes down, the ones that I'm talking about, the ones of DST. I'll see you just now. Remember, we said you're available on our WhatsApp line 063 629 3655, 063 629 3655. Send us your question just so that we can be able to do what? To answer you directly. I'll be back just now. Right, welcome back. We are still here tackling time zone concepts, and we are with Mr. Nkonyeni Babakayabunga. Let's push. We just said we're discussing daylight saving time. It is a practice whereby countries move forward or adjust their clocks by 1 hour when during summer months. Why? So that they can make use of the extra daylight. DST, it is also known as right. Remember, I said today we are only focusing on concepts and then we'll do the calculation. So when we meet next week, Friday, I will now move to the benefits of DST and why do countries practice DST, right? I will also go back a bit on jet lag and also jet fatigue, whereby you're going to be discussing the symptoms for jet lag, ways to minimize jet lag and jet fatigue when, during the flight, before the flight, and also after the flight. Today, I'm just trying to explain these concepts to you. And then next week, Friday, when we meet, now we will move to the symptoms of jet lag and jet fatigue, and also ways to minimize. To minimize it is to reduce or to ease what those symptoms and so on. And also I'll move to DST again, whereby now I'll be explaining what are the benefits of practicing what DST and so on. Right. Now we dealt with all those concepts. Now let's move to a smaller activity now, because all these concepts, they might as well come across your or your multiple choice or section A of your paper. Activity 1 for expansion 1.1.5, right? I want you to try to answer it. It's okay, ignore the numbering, but please write the numbering exactly as it appears. So activity for expansion. San Francisco, remember here you should be having what? Your time zone map, right? San Francisco, then they're giving you UTC. Remember what is UTC? Universal time coordinate. It lies where? On -8. So this is the time zone where you will find what? A UTC. San Francisco -8 lies on of Beijing. Then they've given you the first country city, and then they've given you the second city, Beijing. Then here's UTC, where Beijing is on +8. Then what they saying here? A, is it on the north? B, is it on the south? C, is it on the west? I mean, east or the west? So when you get such a question, you don't just answer. Remember, I said to my learners and also to you when I was giving you the scope for last term, I said, spend at least 30 seconds, if not a minute, in each question on multiple. San Francisco UTC -8 lies of Beijing UTC +8. You cannot just answer this question without actually trying to interpret this question. Remember, when I was busy doing the time zone map, I spoke about east and west. There it is. I spoke about west. I also spoke about what? East. So what did they say? San Francisco, they said it's on +8. And then Beijing, they said San Francisco is on -8. Then they said Beijing is on what? +8. So where is it? Check here. West and east. So San Francisco lies where? Let's check. Because you cannot just answer this question without actually interpreting the map. Let's go to the map. You go to the map, you identify it, they said -8, there it is, San Francisco. Then we go and look for Beijing. Here's Beijing, it's on +8. So where is it? Is it on the east of Beijing, or is it on the west of Beijing? Check. Here's your map. Here's Beijing. Then here is San Francisco. So it lies where? Let's check the question. So you can get such a question on your multiple choice. And remember, I said the concept can also assist you into answering the question. So San Francisco, UTC minus 8 lies on the minus. So minus is on where? On the lies on the west of Beijing. Then how many marks? Then you get your 1 mark. Right. 1.1.2. Remember, I said number your answers correctly. When flying across many time zones, passengers are advised to adjust the time on their watches to, let's check the options that have been given. So you should be writing this on your multiple choice on your section. When flying across, okay, there's flying across many times, meaning when you are crossing many time zones, passengers are advised to adjust their time on their watches to the first option, 2 to 2 hours ahead of local time. Remember the concept that I spoke about? There is this local time, this local time, this local time, this local time. So if you get this question without knowing your concepts, then you will what? You will fail your calculation, your concept. And this is 1 mark, and then you might lose it. When playing across many time zones, passengers are advised to adjust their times on their watches to the first one, 2 hours ahead of local time, 1 hour ahead of local time, 1 hour behind of local time, or adjust their watches to the local time of the destination. There are other concepts that I spoke about again, ahead and behind. So you need to know what is local time and what is standard time, and when would you be ahead and when you would be what? Behind. Right? The countries on the east, they are ahead of time. The countries on the west, they are behind of time. The countries on the east, they are later. The countries on the west, they are earlier. But let's check the question. When flying across many time zones, meaning this is you now before when you planning your trip, passengers are advised to adjust. So you need to adjust your time to 2 hours, no. 1 hour ahead, no. 1 hour behind, no. You need to adjust your clocks to the local time of the destination. So the correct answer there is just what? So before you travel, obviously you have done your calculations that okay, my flight will leave Johannesburg at 10 o'clock. Meaning at what time, if it is 10 o'clock in Johannesburg, and then you calculate your flying time as well, you need to set your clock to the time zone of where you are going so that you cannot be confused when you get there. So when flying across many time zones, passengers are advised to adjust the time on their watches to the local time of their destination city. Then another. So you don't just choose. You choose, you interpret the scenario, and then you choose again, and then you eliminate what? All the incorrect what answers. So the correct one here is going to be D. That is a Smolanyana activity. Check the concepts again. Local time, ahead, behind, local time, and so on. And adjust. Remember, I explained to you what you mean by adjust. Right. Continuation of the activity. Remember, I said to you, please make sure that you write the numbers, the numbering explicit is on this activity. Then activity 3, question 3, you've got 1.1.4, and then question 4, you've got 1.1.5. Right. Let me give you a minute to try to 2 minutes or so to try to interpret these questions, but I'm gonna wait here with you. Let's check. Right. I hope now you're going to get 2 out of 2. Then 1.1.4. Again, this is a question where on your multiple choice, but it is about the concept that you have dealt with. The IDL, then you say, what is an IDL? It is the international date line. It is an imaginary line that then you are given 4 options again. It splits the countries into 3 different climatic regions, incorrect. Causes the changes to the day and the date of a country. C. Divides the earth into north and southern hemisphere, incorrect. Here it is what? The equator. Runs from east to west on the globe, incorrect. There it is the line of latitude. So the correct answer there is going to be B. The international date line, it causes the changes to the day and date of a country. Then what do we have there? 1 mark. Then 1.5. The reason why the time zones of the United States of America, USA, stretches from -4 to -8 or -4 to -8 on a time zone map. So you cannot just answer this question without going to the map. Let's check them. Right? The main focus there is on USA, right? On Northern America. Check. So there it is. It starts here on -4, then it ends on -8 or something. So how many time zones? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is one state or one continent, but with what? Multiple or many what? Time zones. I did say this, that some countries have more than what? One time zone. So this is a link to that. So you cannot just answer that question without actually going to your time zone map and try to interpret or analyze what's on your statement there. The reason why the time zones of the United States of America stretches from -8 to -4 to -8 or -4 to -8 on a time zone map, it is because of the size of the country, because of the position to the moon. This is the decision taken by the people of USA, or because USA is divided into many districts. I think that is going to be the correct answer. Remember, we said zones, time zones. So it is one continent. I mean, it is USA, but it has many what? Zones. So A would be correct. Then another question. This one is a bit tricky as well. Arrange the cities in the correct order. From west to east. Again, if you check the previous notes, I also had to emphasize where is west and where is east. Write the 5 cities in the correct order next to the question number 1.5. What must you do here? Just write 1.5. Right? You've got the cities. Here are your cities, and you also have your time zones. You've got a city, and then you've got time zones, city, and then time zones, city, time zones, and city, and then time zone. But the trick here, they are also checking, the examiner is also checking whether can you be able to arrange the cities in the correct order. Then from where? West to east. Right, remember the countries on the west, I said to you, they are on negative or on minus. And the ones on the right or on the east, they are on plus. Let's try to arrange them. Let's try. And see, the first one for me, we're going to have -8. I hope I'm correct. And the second one, then we'll have -3. Then the third one, then we'll have 0. And the fourth one, then we'll have plus 2, and the fifth one will have plus 5, 5. Arrange the cities. These are the time zones, right? So which city do I have? So you need to write the cities, not the time zone. Then what are you going to have there? The first one, San Francisco. That's the first one. The second one, then we have Rio de Janeiro. And the third one, it is 0. What we have under 0, we've got London, remember. And then plus 2, we've got Cape Town. And then plus 5, 5, and then we've got Delhi. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we get 5 out of 5. So interpret your time zone map correctly, because this can also be able to assist. So what I'm trying to show you is that before you start stressing about time zone calculations, you need to know what your time zone concepts. So this was another activity. Now I'm moving to time zone calculations, but due to time, we are only going to practice 2 time zones, and then next week, meaning our revision number 2, it will still be focusing on time zone, but the big part now, it will be on time zone what? Calculation. I will start with DST and the benefits, then I will move to jet lag and jet fatigue, then I will come to time zone. So I want you to take a screenshot of the following. When it comes to time zone calculations, good people, at least expect a maximum of maybe 11 marks on time zone calculations. So stop stressing too much, but it is possible for you to get a full marks. A strategy here when it comes to time zones, I say time zone calculations are divided into 5. So you need to practice all of them. The first one, do I know the steps to determine time? That is calculation number 1. Do I know how to calculate departure time? That is number 2. Do I know how to calculate arrival time? That is number 3. Do I know how to calculate time with DST? This one you need to be very careful. Sometimes on your statement, they will say, take note that DST is practice, meaning the time zone has to change. And sometimes they will say, ignore DST. This is for a reason. Then the last thing that you need to practice, it is calculating time with a stopover. And sometimes it is elapsed. So this is what we're going to be dealing with deep next week. But I'm going to do only one step now when it comes to time zone calculation. When I say it is steps, I mean that it is a process. Once you miss the first step, then it means everything on your time zones will be incorrect. Time zones are divided into 5 steps. The first part, practice. Okay, I know how to determine time or calculate time. Okay, go. I know. Do I know how to calculate departure time? Do I know how to calculate arrival time? Remember, departure time and arrival time will be affected by the flying time, meaning the number of hours that this person will spend on a flight. Then do I know how to calculate time with DST? Do I know how to calculate time without DST? Do I know as well how to calculate time, including what a stopover? Let me just do one before we conclude for today. Activity for expansion. Study the information below, right? When we say study means what? You need to interpret. Study the information below and use the world time zone map to answer the questions that follow. The first one, Angela flies to the USA. So you've got a tourist, okay? How will this person get into USA? Via a flight, hence they say flight. So do you know where she's from? We don't know yet. Below is Angela's flight information for her trip from Cape Town. Oh, so we know that this person is from where? Cape Town. Where is Cape Town? Cape Town is in South Africa. Where in the USA is this person going? To San Francisco. So you will analyze your text. Hence, they are saying here, study. Study means read, right? For the information. Angela flew from Cape Town International Airport to San Francisco, right? Okay. Her flight departed, meaning departure, né? Departed from Cape Town, okay, at what time? 17 hours. When? On the 21st of October. So sometimes they will say calculate time and day. Sometimes they will say calculate time and date. That is also what? Important. Let me just add it here. Number 6. Calculating time and date. Sometimes time and day. So this is very important. Her flight departed from Cape Town at 17 hours on the 21st October. Her flight stopped at Cape Verde Island en route, right? Remember here, this is where I spoke about what? Connecting flight or elapsed time. The total flying time, including a stopover, remember my tips, in the Cape Verde Island was 23 hours. 2.3.1. Give one reason why the flight stopped at the Cape Verde. Remember, the flight stopped because, remember, she wanted to visit what? The Cape Verde White Island, meaning to go to the island before she can go to the San Francisco. That's the reason there. It is because of the stopover, right? Right. The steps now. You cannot just answer some of those questions without the steps. I'm just going to do one step for today, and then next week we will try to continue. Steps to determine or calculate what time. How will you get such a question? Let's just check this question. If it is 13 hours in Johannesburg, what time is it in London? Right? That's the only one that we're going to be doing. So you cannot answer this question without knowing the steps. I hope we have taken a screenshot of this. If it is 13 hours in Johannesburg, what time is it in London, or would it be in London? Let's check how would you answer this question. The first thing that you need to know there, identify the time zone for each city. And where would you be identifying these time zones? From your map. Identify the time zone. That is step number 1. So the step number 1, identify which cities are we given. We have Johannesburg. Do I need to go to my map? I don't know. I know already where Johannesburg is on +2. That is your first what? Then the second one, let me double check on the question. It is London. What did I say? Where London is? Then you write London. And where is London? Is on 0. Right? Then calculate the time difference between the two countries. Step 2, you must calculate what? Time difference. Meaning the difference between South Africa and London. How do you do that? It is about the sign. You check your sign. Johannesburg is on +2. London is on 0. So the signs are not the same. What do you do? Then you will say 2 + 0. Then what are you going to get? You're going to get what? 2 hours. Meaning that is the difference between what? South Africa and London. It is what? 2 hours. Have you answered the question? You have not answered the question. The question says, if it is 1 o'clock in Johannesburg, what time is it in London? Let's go back. So you answer the question where in step number 3. I am saying you determine time, determine the unknown time by adding or subtracting. So you need to add or subtract, but you need to check the following. If your known time is on the right, then you add the time. If your unknown time is on the left, then you subtract. So you need to know this. So what is our known time? Our known time, it is Johannesburg. So Johannesburg is on 13 hours. So Johannesburg, it is our known time. So where are we going? we are going to the left of Johannesburg. This is where London is. Therefore, what are you going to do there? Are you going to be adding or subtracting? So because London is on the left of Johannesburg, then you're going to subtract time. What are we subtracting? We are subtracting what? Time difference. Therefore, we'll say 13 hours minus 2. Then what time will it be? 13, 12, 11. Then it is going to be what? 11 o'clock. Meaning, when it is 1 o'clock in South Africa, remember South Africa, it is 2 hours ahead. Then in London, what time would be? Then it is going to be what? 11 o'clock. So I'm going to pause here for now because due to time. So next week, we are going to be continuing with steps to determining time. Let me just give you this homework. Just take a screenshot for the second activity. The first one, if it is 13 hours in Johannesburg, what time will it be in London? I did that. Then the second one, if it is 6 o'clock in Perth, what time will it be in New York? That is your homework. What have we dealt with today? We dealt with time zone revision, whereby we first look at the concept. Which concept did we deal with? By today, we should know what a time zone. We should know what is an international deadline. We should know the difference between local time and standard time. We should know the difference between jet lag and jet fatigue. We should know when do we add. We should know when do we subtract. We should know as well where is the east and where is the right. We should also know how to do our calculations of the 24-hour clock. And then we ended our lesson by giving you the 5 calculations that we are going to be doing. And then the last thing that I did was give you a homework activity on the steps on how to determine time. Remember what I said to you, the road, it is the race, it is still on. It is not yet the end. We are running this race so that we can be able to get a good grade for tourism final exam. Babaga ayabonga wasiye, Mr. Nkonyeni wasiye. I hope you've enjoyed 1 or 2 things. Hashtag Wenzela Wena. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.